bring in Trump Campaign Co-Chairman Sam Clovis right now. Sam, good to see you.
Well, good to be on the set with such an august group here.
Thank you. That's out of the textbook. Thank you very much. Yeah. So let me ask you about economic issues.
Sure.
This is the #1 issue for most voters out there.
Right.
You don't really hear Donald Trump talking specifically about his economic plans. Can you explain them to us?
Well, sure. If you take a look at our tax plan, I think the tax plan is one that almost every candidate has issued one. We look at our tax plan as being extremely pro-growth. That's what our anticipation is, that we'll get the economy back on a sound footing if we can get these tax reforms through. I think the centerpiece of that is the corporate tax reform, and I think that's really where we need to bring all that offshore capital back. With the capital will come investment. It'll also incentivize foreign direct investment in the country, which then adds to our GDP. All of this tends to grow. We'll also start to clear the backlog of 9 million people who should be working that aren't. We'll have to create another 16 to 25 million jobs as we go along. So all of this is all part of that plan.
I'm glad you mentioned the tax reform plan, because that's what voters want to see, and they want this done in year one. Yeah. Steve Moore, do you agree with Sam's assessment of Donald Trump's tax?
Look, I loved, and in fact, I helped put that together a little bit. It brings the rates down, and I agree with
15% corporate?
15 or 20, I forget.
The corporate's 15. The repatriation's 10.
You're going to bring a lot of that money back. Okay, but I'm going to challenge you on something.
Yeah. Okay.
Where Trump is getting hit is, how do you pay for this? You know, the claim is that it's a $10 trillion tax cut over 10 years. Donald Trump hasn't been very specific about where he wants to cut the budget, and I think a lot of conservative inquiring minds want to know where those cuts are going to come from.
Good question.
Steve, I think it's a great question, and I'd be happy to answer it, because I think what we're really going to do is we're going to take a hard look at freezing spending, because when we get into office, we're going to have simply just 6 weeks to prepare a budget, have a budget prepared. The budget process is really the purview of Congress. We want to offer that large suggestion to them to freeze spending where it is until we have an opportunity to see where we're going. With that, we also will start the assault on fraud, waste, and abuse. We're going to bring people into the government who have no stake in special interests. This is huge. As you know, the 1,000-page bill is filled with carve-outs.
Yes.
Every transportation bill is filled with carve-outs.
People are sick of that, by the way.
Sick of it. Yeah. And this is what we're going to start. 10% savings. 10% savings, $400 billion.
But Sam, you mentioned stakes. But when you have more than half of American households not paying any federal income tax, which Trump codifies in his plan, they're not stakeholders, and they don't have any interest in controlling government spending because it's not their money.
Well, the issue is, if you remember back to Reagan, it took the 1983 budget before we actually started to see any recovery. It took 2 years, Ronald Reagan, 2 years, to actually get the economy turning back around after the Jimmy Carter fiasco. So this is the thing a lot of people don't understand. It takes time. It takes patience. Unemployment lags 9 months to 12 months behind any start to see an investment recovery. And I'm sitting here with the best panel in the world to talk about these issues. So I think you would go along with those kind of sentiments.
I lived through exactly what he's talking about. I was the third-ranking official in the Justice Department when it was cut by 15% by Ronald Reagan. He did 10, 15% cuts across the board. Biggest tax
I remember that.
decrease.
You're going to have to do cuts.